Hey everyone, this is Ronak Ahuja. I welcome you all again. In my last video, we had been discussing about the revision of the income tax returns. As we know, the last date for revision of returns is the 31st of December 2025. Now, what happens if you want to make revisions to your return after the 31st of December? Well, let me tell you, we'll have to file an updated return. Now, what's an updated return? What are the additional taxes or additional interest that we need to pay to file an updated return? We all will be discussing in this entire video. So make sure you stay till the end. So without wasting any further time, let's quickly begin. Let's start discussing about the updated return, taking financial year 24-25 as the base year. For all the incomes that were earned during the financial year 24-25, the returns were supposed to be filed by the 16th of October in case of non-audit cases. Now, in case if you want to make any revisions to those returns or file a belated return, you can do it by the 31st of December 2025. Now, what if you want to make revisions after the 31st of December, or you want to file an original return after the 31st of December for the financial year 24-25? Well, let me tell you, in that case, you will have to file an updated return. And this updated return can be filed up to 4 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. This means for the financial year 24-25, the assessment year would be 25-26. And the updated return can be filed up to 4 years from the end of the assessment year. Here, the assessment year ends on the 31st of March 2026, and you can file an updated return for financial year 24-25 up to 4 years from the end of 31st of March 2026, which would mean that you can file an updated return for the financial year 24-25 up to the 31st of March 2030. This is as per the Finance Act 2025. However, there's one thing I would like you all to note, and that would be the more late you file an updated return for a year in these 4 years, the higher the tax you would be required to pay. This means if you file an updated return, say for financial year 24-25, in the 4th year, you will be required to pay a higher amount of tax as compared if you file it in the 1st year itself. So it's better and always suggested to file an updated return as soon as possible. Now, let's simultaneously look at some of the FAQs as well. This will help us understand the subject in a more clear way. So, when can we file an updated return? An updated return can be filed in the following 4 circumstances. The first one being in case you had not filed an income tax return for the financial year 24-25. The second case would be in case you had filed an original return under section 139 subsection 1 and you are desiring to make some changes to it after the 31st of December. The third case would be you can file an updated return in case you had filed a belated return under section 139 subsection 4. And last but not the least, you can file an updated return in case you had filed a revised return under section 139 subsection 5. However, this would be allowed if you also satisfy other conditions as well. And these other conditions will be discussed later on. Now, what is the time limit to file an updated return? The time limit would be 4 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. That is, here the assessment year for the financial year 24-25 would be 25-26. That is, end of 31st of March 2026. This means 4 years from the end of 31st of March 2026, which would be 31st of March 2030. Now, what are the other conditions that we need to satisfy to file an updated return? The first one would be it should not be a loss return. In case of a loss return, you won't be able to file an updated return. Further, if the updated return results in decreasing the tax liability, or it results in increasing your tax refund, or it results from tax payable to tax refund, then in all these three cases also you won't be able to file an updated return. So all the conditions that we just discussed above, along with these conditions, needs to be checked before you file an updated return. It shouldn't be a loss return, or it should not have the effect of reducing the tax liability or increase the tax refund. So for all those viewers who are planning to file an updated return to claim tax refunds, then in such cases, let me tell you, you won't be able to file an updated return. So I would suggest you go and quickly file a revised return if you want to receive a tax refund or increase your tax refunds for the financial year 24-25 by the 31st of December itself. Because beyond that, you won't be able to claim your tax refunds by filing an updated return. Moving on, can we revise an updated return? The answer would be no. An updated return can be filed only once for a particular financial year. In other words, you cannot revise an updated return. Thus, my suggestion would be to file an updated return very carefully. Now, what's the core difference between filing an updated return or a belated return? The core difference lies in the tax you pay. In case of belated return, you would be required to pay interest and fees along with it. However, in case of an updated return, in addition to the interest and fee, you would also be liable to pay additional taxes. The more late you file an updated return, the higher the additional tax you pay. So all this time we had been talking about filing an updated return for the financial year 24-25. That is for all the incomes that were earned during the financial year 24-25. Now what about the financial years prior to 24-25? Can we still file updated returns for them? And if so, what would be their due dates? Now to answer to those queries, yes, we can still file an updated return for earlier years as well. And the due dates for those earlier years have been mentioned to my left. Please take note of that. Now here again, I would like to caution you all that you cannot file an updated return in case you're wanting to opt for a tax refund or you want the tax refund to be increased. Now, after saying all of these, that is all of these discussions, you might have a question that if we cannot claim a tax refund, why at all was updated return introduced? Now, let me tell you in this regard, an updated return was introduced with the objective to make taxation more user friendly. Now, how is it so? Earlier, in case the taxpayer forgot to disclose any particular income in their income tax return, it would have been treated as income escaping assessment, and there were severe consequences for that. However, making this much more simpler and more user friendly, the government gives us one final opportunity to file an updated return before the matter gets escalated to the higher level. This way, it makes the direct tax more user friendly. Now, on the procedural aspect, how do we file an updated return? And simply filing of an ITR, would it suffice? Now, let me tell you, simply filing of an ITR would not suffice. In addition to the ITR, you will also have to file ITR-U. And along with that, in the ITR, you'll have to select an additional option under Part A of the General Schedule under the Filing section, as shown in the snapshot to my left. So this is how you would approach filing an updated return for a financial year. Now quickly take out a minute and look at some of the other FAQs also that will give you a little more clarity. So this was all about the updated return. We hope we were able to clarify some of your doubts. Here again, I would like to flag one more thing. We still have 2 to 3 days left until the 31st of December 2025. So in case you received any alert or notice from the income tax department regarding discrepancies in your return, or you found an income that you failed to report in your income tax return, make sure to revise it by the 31st of December 2025. If not, you will have to file an updated return, which would be a very costly affair, as you would be required to pay additional tax in such a case as compared to the revised return. So, in case you have any questions, make sure you mention it in my comments or mail us at talklevies@gmail.com. Thank you and stay tuned for more videos.